Hello everyone, this is totally based game reviews where I play games and then I make opinions about them. I was about to say review, I was like, this is definitely not a review. This is a very beloved franchise. When I was young, I was a StarCraft and Warcraft groupie. I only played those games religiously, and I was one of those toxic ass little fuckers that was like, this is the best RTS, why would I play anything else? And then I grew up and I was like, man, you were a stupid ass little fucking kid. Anyways, Brigham comes along with this video talking about Kane's Wrath. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I've heard about Command and Conquer, but I realized that I confused Command and Conquer and Supreme Commander together. Because when you look at their art, sometimes I'm just like, there's an overlap. And when I look at the gameplay from a person that never played those games, they kind of look the same. So I just thought they were the same. I played Supreme Commander and I really didn't like it. Probably because I just wasn't used to any of it. So I will go back and play that some other time. But for now, I played Tiberium Wars and then Kane's Wrath. Tiberium Wars, I tried out the campaign mostly, and then a little bit of skirmish. And then I tried Kane's Wrath, primarily in skirmish. And the overworld total war type, like, game mode, but it was cute that they added it in, and I like that it exists. It was very boring. We'll go into that later. So one thing I want to say, like the majority of players that play these type of games, they play the campaign and then they never touch multiplayer. They might do a 1 or 2 games, get fucking absolutely munted by like a god that just micros, you know, every single thing. And they're like, yeah, fuck this game. Campaign was good though. The voice acting and the actual acting in the story, in at least Tiberium Wars, from what I experienced, was great. There was a bit of a tonal issue because like it's very serious, but like it was very serious in the sense that like 20% of the location is controlled by the GDI, which is the good guys. 50% of the planet is basically contaminated by this resource called Tiberium, which I thought was amazing. Like it poisons and destroys everything, but it's a very potent resource. So it's like you know, better uranium. And then 30% of the world is just inhabitable. And the fact that not the bad guys that exist in the 50% zone are like the oppressors, the GDI took everything. They took livable locations while we were left with scraps. Fuck them. So, you know, you have this cool like political setup of like these guys that are actually fighting for a good cause. And they just fully lent into they strap bombs onto themselves and go blow shit up. Screaming stuff, and they love cleansing the heretics with a black flame or blue flame. And all I can think of is you set up a really good story beat and then you just kind of was like it's made them fully the bad guys, and like I didn't like that. But when you just forget about the first part and then you just look at the thing as just bad guys versus good guys, and then slap on aliens for third race, it wasn't bad. The point that I really fucking hated though was the actual campaign gameplay. It sucked ass. It sucked ass on so many levels, to the point that I actually was going to say fuck this game. And then I played skirmish and I was like, oh, this game is actually really fucking good. They just really fucked the campaign. So yeah, going on, majority of players play campaign. I was like, I don't know the public opinion, and honestly, I don't actually give a fuck about the public opinion because it's my fucking opinion. This, holy fuck, you're supposed to like look, like I get the tutorials exist. Those tutorials suck. Campaigns are supposed to be the tutorial, a built-in tutorial to slowly ease a player into it and like get them involved into the lore, right? That's how campaigns should fucking work. So you're getting into this game, right? And this game is like, hey, we're going to introduce this new unit. And then you should be able to use that unit in this new playground and feel how it works, you know? But also give the option to the player, if you don't want to use it though, fine. There's different ways. This is the preferred way, but you have other avenues to do it. This game doesn't give two flying fucks. And it's really confusing because they'll give you, hey, this is a unit that you can produce. Next mission, you can't produce it anymore. Why? Hey, you should build this. Like, let's build infantry, grenadiers that are really good against infantry. Cool. The AI is just building tanks and obliterating your fucking asshole. So I shouldn't build grenades. And then the next one, you don't build grenades and then you fucking immediately die. And I'm like, this is like a lot of mixed messages in this shit. And I don't get it. Like another one was like, I was playing and I was trying, oh yeah, infantry pushing. This is a kind of cool, kind of gives me a company of heroes type of vibe. I dig it. And then Black Flame comes and completely obliterates everything. Like just 2 squads just melt everything. I'm like, what? And the reason why I was going infantry was the previous mission. I built a shit ton of like tanks because it told me to build tanks. I was like, hey, this is a U unit. Built tanks, got mounted by a metric fuck ton of rocket launchers. Now, I realized now that the AI was probably shared in everything. There were no tweaks on how it was supposed to interact with the player. So I think a lot of people don't really understand when it comes to game development. Building the game itself and play in a playable state, it's not easy, but it's like the easier part. Balancing that so that it is fun takes forever. This campaign wasn't. It was. You know what? Nah, it wasn't tested. Even if it was, they didn't give 2 flying fucks. And to be fair, from what I heard about like a guy in chat mentioning something, this was like 6 months of development that they just pushed it out. Needless to say, I think it was just a, hey, RTS is a popular, push something out sort of thing. And they just wound up with a really, really good fucking like multiplayer sort of experience, which has its flaws from what I heard, but like that will come later. But like, you know, but they didn't balance the campaign. So it's an absolute terrible fucking experience for a new person coming into it. And, you know, I had played a lot of RTSs. This ain't a, oh, I'm great. I'm just straight up saying, I play a lot of them. With these games, I've realized I don't want to play on Brutal because they're just not balanced. And you're just fighting an AI with boosted fucking resources, like just like super weapons and shit like that can just nuke you out of the fucking, like, out of nowhere. And I'm like, what? Because once again, AI isn't tuned to help the player ease into the experience. It's just base AI for everything. Go. It's painful, man. I didn't realize how spoiled I was playing games like Age of Mythology, Age of Empires, and StarCraft and Warcraft, where their campaigns are well chiseled to the player experience. And these other ones are like, it's a yeah. I'm not surprised, but it was a genuine like disappointment because the story, with its flaws, and eventually Kane's Wrath not becoming totally fucking nuts job. Honestly, if like Nod was what it was in Kane's Wrath, from what I've heard of snippets of watching the videos, it makes perfect sense to me why they would become fanatical. Or like even if they had like a little bit more of that fanaticism, like which I guess some people could argue for, but it just kind of fell out of like the blue. Like a sympathy card, and then they're just crazy though. Regardless, the actual acting was so over the top dumb that it was circled around being good, and I did dig that. I just feel really sad that the campaign was so bad that it actually turned me off from the game almost. And I just I threw in the towels like, if the developers themselves weren't even given a chance, and like I'm saying this, the developers, I'm pretty sure they put their life, their time, and their passion into this because you can feel it. And it's not the developers' fault. It's EA's fault for forcing them to like push out the game when it clearly wasn't finished, and they weren't able to get the time to actually spruce out the the campaign. It's not the developers' fault. It's purely the company that was running. It was mismanaged. But it's a pity, because legitimately I do think that campaign had like all the right like elements of being great, and just they needed more time. They needed a lot more time. And it's a bummer, especially when most people come for the campaign. Anyways, that chapter's done. I spoke like 10 minutes about that shit. Yeah, once I like said fuck the campaign, I went into multiplayer. I was genuinely surprised. I watched a couple of pro matches, and I'm like, don't get me wrong, Dawn of War, pretty boring to watch. Command and Conquer, Kane's Wrath, even without mods, pretty fun. Not gonna lie, it's very strategic. How I felt about the experience watching me play and then watching other people play, it feels like you're playing because Tiberium, it's interesting because how resources manage is really important, right? So the resources are at the center, and it grows out a field of like mineral crystals, Tiberium, whatever. And your harvests can come from every sort of direction. Your base has a field around it that produces kind of like a pylon from StarCraft. And all the factions, although feel very different, play very similarly. And it's you have to build enough harvesters with the refineries that have a continuous flow of money, and then you just pump out units like a stream. So it's not like necessarily even like rush, like all that. It just feels like a continuous stream of units that's getting spread, and you have to change the trajectory or like whatever is in the stream depending on how the enemy is interacting. And it felt cool. It felt like playing Zerg, but not Zerg. I don't know how to explain it. It's fun. Yeah. Timing attacks. The game feels a lot more forgiving. Cause if you're pushing, you build units so fucking fast, so you can react and you can defend. Base defenses are also very strong, relatively cheap. Actually, I can't talk more about this until I actually kind of coffee didn't go down well. How I explain how I felt about each of the factions, because like GDI and there's two sub factions. GDI feels like a very well-rounded sort of thing. Infantry feels really good across the board. Classic rocket launchers, guns is just chaff. Grenades are supposedly good against infantry, unless it's black fucking hand. And then engineers to take control of different locations. Their vehicles, though, holy fuck, tanks, big tanks, makes Imperial Guards seem like pussies. And then I gotta say, fuck, my favorite unit in the game, unironically, is I think it's a Juggernaut or Berserker or whatever. It's just a fucking 2 legs with 4 fucking massive cannons. I'm like, this is the most Soviet design that I've ever seen. And I really love it. It's so good. And I think it's Steel Talons, where you can put a pack of infantrymen into it. So he just got this sort of cannon dude, and you just got infantrymen shooting from inside, or like grenadiers or whatever. I was like, whoever designed this deserves a fucking raise. Just looking at it brings me joy. Oh god, it's so good. I love it. A little tank, like little like buggies with like rocket launchers. Honestly, the unit designs across the board, I liked it. Like I was just watching the animations and a lot of what was going on, to the point that I wasn't playing the game because it was just so enthralling. It was. I haven't been that excited and entertained by unit design. Then, what was it? Battle Realms was good. Definitely. Honestly, Battle Realms, like I was getting as much satisfaction in this game as I was in Battle Realms. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Sky units, I didn't. I like the idea of the mechanic, and I think that like you could abuse the shit out of it. They felt like Banshees to me in StarCraft, like Terran, where they reload bombs at the aircraft and then you can call them out. So it's like a very like instant strike sort of like thing, which I thought was really cool. They come out, drop their bombs, and go back in. I think different vehicles have different purposes and they do different things. But I mean the planes, but I didn't get to really explore it that much. I thought it was a very cool concept. I really enjoyed mechs and tanks and artillery. That's just I like Skaven in Total War. Empire, I occasionally play just for the Hellstorm rocket batteries. Like, I'm an artillery man. And just 4 ginormous fuck you cannons on a pair of legs. Just, Oh, and the fact that their giant tank GMD, I don't know what it was called. It just going over Tiberium fields, sucking shit up. I thought that was fucking cool. Well, the fact that big artillery, big tanks and shit like that can actually mow through infantry, that was cool. I liked it. The controls are a bit jank. It kind of reminded me of like Brood War jank, but not as bad because Brood War jank is really jank. But the amount of times I tried to drive things over things and it just refused, like it just got stuck on random shit. I was like, I'm sure that like pro players find a way to like make their units move the exact same way. But as a newbie coming in, I was like, I really don't really know how to utilize this, but whatever. So yeah, Steel Talons were basically to replace some of the base tanks and shit like that with mechs, walkers. I love them, but I feel like they suffer from the same thing. Like I play Corvus Belli Infinity, a lot of miniatures and shit like that, and I feel as a Yujing player, and I know, and we always complain about the fucking tax, armor tax, or weird like melee tax or something, and I feel like that's kind of like what I felt about Steel Talon. They're powerful, but a lot of the utility or their power isn't. It's like overkill, right? All of this extra damage is not really going to be properly used, so you can just get hit by multiple fucking directions. The last game that I had, I really felt that while the AI was playing on Brutal, and it's just hitting me in 3 locations. Like, I probably should have built infantry and all that sort of shit, but like my perception of it now is like infantry kind of sucks. You have to constantly push out like vehicles because that's the only thing that really fucking works, unless it's a faction that's specifically designed for that purpose. But they feel like they're so expensive that if you don't design them with strong defense and then a base push, they just kind of suck. And I think a lot of their shit is overpriced for what they kind of do. And looking online on the forums, people were saying that, yeah, I think they're the weakest. And I was like, I would not be surprised. They're still my favorite, though. I think they're so stupid. I love them. It's like playing Tau. And I can't gush enough that the Juggernaut's one of my favorite fucking units in the game. It's so stupid. I love it so much. Zocom. It felt like Sisters of Battle without their flamethrowers. Man, they were fucking cool. I liked them. And then the first time I used them, the AI was playing Black Hand, and that was painful. I was like, oh yeah, they'll easily be able to click A, move the AI. Where the fuck is my army? And I just see 3 Black Hand chicks going, like Black Hand guys going. We'll get to that later. I heard that they have like a strat where you load them onto like planes and then you just nuke everything. The multiplayer clearly isn't that balanced. Because I can see that if you guys really like understand the ins and outs of what's good, like balancing multiplayer in RTS is like a fucking logistical nightmare. So I personally don't care too much. I enjoyed like playing it against AI enough that I just don't see the need. I heard the modding community is huge, but yeah. Okay, next, Nod. Don't have a huge amount of opinions about him. Avatar is kind of cool. Basic units are all fanatical or blow shit up. The thematic like look of him being kind of like crazy people, like, you know, if Overwatch if they were on drugs. I dug it. I'll skip the actual base faction straight to Nod. Fire on everything was good. But I realized that they're not really good against armor. But if you have enough of them, they are good against everything because they'll just melt everything. I was like, I feel like this is the Rush faction, right? I looked online. Yeah, but a lot of people think Black Hand is fucking busted because of how fucking powerful that flame is. Like, if you get the upgraded version of the flame, I'm like, fuck me. Their big unit, which is like a ginormous avatar, I think also has a built-in flamethrower from what I remember. Cool thing. It kind of reminds me of the new thing in Infinity. Where it's just like these 4 legs and it's tromping around. Morat? Yeah, the Morat, like, big aggressor, whatever the thing is. It looked like that. I was like, oh, that's a really cool design. Nothing really spoke out to me in Node. I think it's like a fan favorite for a lot of people. Node just felt pretty meh to me. I know I just gushed like for like what 5 minutes about a cannon with four cannon, like legs with 4 cannons, but nothing really spoke out to me. Their bikers were kind of cool. I could see that they would be abused the living fuck out of, kind of like vultures and broodwool. And they had like anti-air, and I was like, fuck me, that's really powerful. Flame tanks were actually really good at like that, where it's just, you know, a black hand but in tank form. What else? Their avatars were good. I'm glad that they don't shoot up, or if there's an upgrade that does, I don't fucking know. Don't care enough. Did not try any of their air units, or I did, and I vaguely remember just they were very forgettable. I think unless you have a particular type of like strategy, I don't think they're that good. But once again, I fucking no clue. The other one, I think, where they're poisoned and they throw like chemical warfare and shit. I don't remember much about them. Yeah, I just don't remember much about them. I overall, Black Hand was very memorable because of the fire. The other thing, I was just like, I'm sure that there's something powerful in it, or whatever. The last thing I want to say is the commandos are what the fuck. The fact that they just run in. Honestly, GDI, I think like if I had to play that game, I'd play GDI because like the commando for like the other the Nod, well, they blow up, but a commando with a jetpack that mows down infantry and can just one-shot kill buildings and then maneuver around the map using a fucking jetpack. I don't need to see multiplayer to know that you need to build like anti-infantry or whatever the fuck kills that thing where your power supply is and build a lot of them. Fuck me. The first time the AI did that to me, I was like, where's my power? Look at base, base is gone. I'm like, what the? It was an experience. I tried using them. They're pretty good. The AI knows how to counter them, so it was fine, but cool unit. I actually have no problem with it. It was just kind of wild that all these super mechs are trying to blow something up and the commander goes beep, it's just gone. Erased. Non-existent anymore. I'm like, okay. Now the Skrin, I feel like they got done dirty. I think they're really cool. I'm not interested in playing them, but they're really cool. I love a lot of the concepts that I actually saw in it. The fact that they are from wherever Tiberium comes from or whatever the fuck, and that they don't get poisoned by Tiberium, because that's another thing. Humans can't exist in Tiberium, so if your units go across the Tiberium field, they get poisoned and die. Screened in, and I was like, that's I like that. I like that flavor text. And tripods, cool. It sounds weird, but they did feel like a combination of like a Zelnaga, like if Zerg and Protoss really combined together, because it had a lot of swarm-like feeling, the very world War of the World, like alien technology, and it felt very foreign, and I thought that was really cool. They have these little buzzer things. I don't know what they do because I tried to look at the tooltip and it didn't show, and I just didn't give enough fucks to look through the wiki. You can attach them to vehicles. I don't know what they do, but that's a cool concept if it erases their defense or does thorn damage or whatever. Pretty fucking cool idea in my opinion. They have a carrier, but like, you know, it's like an elongated thing, and the little things actually instead of like a big carrier where the little interceptors come out. Yeah, you can do. If anyone wants to use that, you have my blessing. Anyways, it's like this little like penile ass looking thing, and it's like these little ships that just disattach and then start flying. I was like, I actually enjoy that design over the base carrier design in StarCraft. That was really cool. There's the centipede thing. where it's just like the head, and then you can attach 4 different types of segments to it that do like damage to infantry, vehicles, aircraft, and then structures. And you slowly see this centipede growing bigger and bigger, and it just moves around, and all of its segments just go. I was like, that unit design is so fucking cool, so dope. It was just really, I like them a lot. A lot of their other ones, there was a thing that looked like a baneling that shot out poison. A lot of their stuff wasn't like amazing to me, but the carrier and the centipede stuck out to me. The final unit that just kind of looked like a giant spider on legs. I don't even know what it did. I was just so fucking getting information overload by looking at everything that I didn't really register what it was doing, but it wasn't cool. If anything, you should know by now, I'm into big mechs, big cannons, all that shit, and it I don't know, didn't do anything for me. I don't know what the other things do. I think one of the factions has fucking shields, and I was like, now you're really leading into the Zerg/Protoss thing. Not that they probably took it from it. That's just what I felt. But yeah, each of the factions felt very unique, and the fact that they stretched out like each faction into separate, like I'm stealing that idea for an RTS or RTS/turn-based strategy game that I'm building. So I can't complain. Fucking great game. Multiplayer components. I think that's pretty much it. I have heard that mods exist for this, and that like 40k mods and all that sort of shit, and I'm like, community patches that fix like bugs and shit like that. I might make a review, like opinion talk about like what it's like on the mod scene. Overall, like the multiplayer, I actually probably will put it into the roster of, if I'm having an RTS itch. It feels like a lot more I'm not saying casual as a bad thing. StarCraft and like Warcraft and all these sort of things, when you're playing at a competitive level, feels it's very stressful with how much micro you have to manage. This game really did feel like you fully have to, instead of microing your units, which I know at the highest level you probably do, you feel like you just giving your swarm a direction. Actually, there's a few things that I really dislike, and I don't know if there's mods for it. One, the fact that your units don't come out automatically set to attack shit, because the commands, the waypoints and all that, it's a bit confusing to me as a StarCraft player, trying to like get the muscle memory out of my head. But the fact that you can set units to like defensive stance, where they just don't fucking attack buildings, and you have to set them to aggressive stance to retaliate, or a stance where they just don't attack at all. I don't know why that exists. Or like, at least when it pumps out of the fucking factory, it should be set automatically to attack building. I don't get it. You can change it, like you can change the factory to set it to Alt A or something, so that all the units that come out of it become aggressive. But if you have one thing that you forgot to not set it, and then you try to like select all units and go, they deactivate and go to a base of not attacking, from what I remember. And I was like, why? That's very frustrating. And I know you just micro it better, but it was just like, well, give us an option in like the thing where like you can. I know it came out 2008 and they haven't worked on it, but that was frustrating. Second thing that was frustrating, they're drilling again. I hate this place. Anyways, when you're trying to build units, hotkeys are everything in RTSs, right? So when you build units out of a certain sort of building, I didn't realize it's a ERTW, basically lets you control base building, defensive base building, infantry units, and then vehicles. That was really cool. And when you press tab, you can go into the separate like log of what building is producing what. That was cool. I kind of wish, like, I know that they just didn't have that sort of technology, but it was frustrating, like where you double click and all of this type of production facilities could be hotkeyed to one hotkey, so you can like produce them differently. I don't know how it would work with the way that the swarm mechanic works, where you would have to like you'd probably press 5, select all, and then tap through them. But it's the reason why it annoyed me is that you have to set the waypoints, each of them separately. And if you like, because me automatically, because I like this game and it's very fluid in a lot of ways, thought that, oh, if I just like, you know, I'm in the vehicle tab in itself and set the waypoint, it should be set. No, you actually have to click on the building and then set the waypoint. And I realized that there's like a click the actual building and production outside of the actual building that affects the building, but not the same. And I was like, oh my god, this is a bit of a... It's a UI thing. And it's a control thing. It bugged me a lot. Like, I would like, if... Those two things I would mod out immediately. Everything else I was like, really good, fine, and dandy. Oh, and also, their command center or whatever, like, that's set out, and then you can pack it up and then move. Cool. I like that. What I don't like is that when it starts moving, it loses its hotkey. Fuck me. The amount of times I'm like, F, like, 4. Where the fuck's my command? Because I was like, oh yeah, because when you run out of energy, you disable the minimap, which I think is cool. And if you don't have a command center, it disables the minimap. Cool concept. Very frustrating to play, but I get you work around it, right? But man, the amount of times that I forgot that I have to, while it's moving, recontrol F, or like recontrol F4, or like land in the location, recontrol F, like it's like Brood War. Yeah, you're like micro, it makes you better. It's just tedious. It's no strategic. You're just doing something for muscle memory to teach your fucking fingers to remember something that's completely pointless. Once again, I get it. It's 2008. But it's so frustrating. So yeah. Multiplayer is great. I can see that like there's a lot of things that are unbalanced as fuck. But the general gameplay of like creating a swarm of shit with a continuous like income. Oh yeah, there's only one income source, which is even fucking good. I love how it's streamlined and you just have to protect your resources, and like how every sort of harvester basically has a different way of defending, like missile built-in missiles. One can load up infantry, all these sort of things. I'm like, very cool. I actually like it. It's the first time that I've seen one resource type utilized that I genuinely liked. I remember playing a few others and they were really shit, and this one I was like, they did a good job with it. I actually really like that. So yeah, I'll get it out of the way. Things I dislike. The actual gameplay of the campaign fucking sucked ass. 2, some of the UI is just has not aged well, like especially with how new age RTSs handle stuff. And it's really painful to go back. Same reason why, like, I love Brood War. I don't play it much because just the controlling schemes. The fact I can't double click on all my gateways, just, you know. I still didn't figure out how to do control, like build queues controlling things. I think they're separate. How you control units and how you build. I just have problems with how a player uses it, and that might be purely because of how I was born and raised to play a certain type of RTS. I totally get it. I just didn't like that part of it. That's just me. Maps are kind of meh, but that's most RTSs. They just slap on random shit. I heard the community maps a lot of good from the games that I saw on YouTube. The maps look good. Community maps are always good, and they look like they probably like revolve around how the game, but like multiplayer like experiences. So it's good. I like that. But yeah, those are 3 things that I disliked. Oh, and yeah, actually, I'll put into the pros. I love the unit diversity. I love the separate factions and the vibes that they all give. Some of them I just didn't have enough time to explore because I there's a lot of games to play, so I'm just going through them, experiencing them. I loved them. Some of the units were very memorable, like Scrin and like on GDI, like the Juggernaut, Carrier, whatever the fuck it's called, Centipede Dude. They're just a really, really cool like unit design ideas. I'm gonna go back and like relook at them in my spare time. They're really, really fucking cool. And especially loading units into vehicles and shit like that. It's just not a concept that I saw outside of transportation. So I dug that. I really fucking dug that. That was super cool. I don't know if any I don't know other game did it before, but like probably the first Command and Conquerors, but like regardless, fucking cool. Um, second, I don't know if this is the second or third point. Whatever. The second is I really like the acting and the general storyline. The one gripe that I did have was the fact that Nod was seen as sympathetic and then just full terrorist, which was weird to me, but whatever. The acting was nice. Half the time I'm like, it's definitely male gaze, male power fantasy. It's just like, oh, my lieutenant wants to fuck me, but also sees me as a great man. It's like, don't thank me, thank him, the commander. Like, it was the right amount of camp, and they knew it and leaned into it. I was like, I appreciated it. The multiplayer, like the general, like the game flow of itself was great. Oh, I don't know if I talked about it in the cons. Campaign was not designed at all for the like the user friendly experience. Did not teach you the game. Wasn't really balanced. Wasn't fun. Shit. But the multiplayer in the skirmishes, playing it was really good. I think I got all of them. Bad is campaign plays like shit. I'm sorry that I'm so frazzled. It's just that there's so much fucking drilling going on, and I just don't give enough fucks to record a new video when it's already like 40 minutes. So one, campaign plays like ass. Two, I didn't really like the Nod is understanding but also psychotic, which it just required a few like story tweaks, right? Three, UI and how you control your units and how like control groups and stuff like that work, which isn't really their fault. It just wasn't something that we took into consideration that early back in the day. So whatever. Pros, I love the campaign, like actual storyline. Weirdly enough, it's campy, male gazy, male power fantasy. I dug into it. Unit designs in general were fucking great. Voice acting, complete voice acting is some of the best I've heard in like any like genre. Like fuck, good is good. The bad is so bad that it's good. That's the best kind of bad, you know. Voice acting was great. General like actual gameplay flow was really good, and I really enjoy the one type of like resources and like the resource control. How fast the resources run out, so it forces you to like fight at different locations, strategic locations to gain control of it. It's very fast paced and slow paced. It's weird. I like it though. I like how it's so slow paced but yet fast paced at the same time. It has less focus on micro, more focus on macro, and like the logistical nature of warfare. And I thought that was really fucking cool. They also added a weird mode like total domination mode or whatever, where it's like Total War, where you basically have bases, you build them up, and then you have little armies that you build and you send them to locations, take over. It was boring, but it was a cool idea. If they did something more similar to Dawn of War, how they had managed it, Dawn of War, like Soulstorm, the one before Dark Crusade, I would have dug it a lot more. Like where you invade a location and then you have to build the base. But when you have a full ass army and just fucking charge, it's whatever. It felt like they just had to add something new, and they slapped it together and pushed it out. So it felt, but the fact that it's still there, I appreciated that it existed, although I didn't like it. I guess that's a bit of the neutral. Anyways, that's it. This is my opinions about Tiberium War and Kane's Wrath. I only played it for 2 days. And realistically, RTSs is like wine. You have to play them for an extended period of time. But the problem is if you play them for too long, the wine turns into vinegar. So I kind of just wanted to make an opinion while it was still fresh, what I felt from everything. And yeah, overall, I'd recommend. I'd tell them, watch the campaign on YouTube and play the skirmish. And once you're done, do mods. I will probably come back with a mod like opinion, whatever. Anyways, bye.